Hey guys, this is Dan at CSS again. Today I want to go over assembly of our base module cabinet. Now, all of our cabinets go together a very similar way. They're CNC'd flat packs. They fit together very well. But the base module is a little bit tricky, so we're going to start with this one. Anything you learn in this video should be able to be applied to other flat packs, other cabinets that we offer. This one, there's a few caveats to this one that I want to show you, and hopefully ease any issues that anybody's had so far. So first of all, we're going to start with this is a side panel. You got two dados here, rabbets around the edges, and into these dados go some braces. These braces they almost look symmetric, but they're not quite. You can see this center brace here has elongated holes on the back side and circular on the front side. So I'm going to assemble this as though the back side is toward me right now. So we're going to put these elongated holes toward the back. So this is going to go like this in this dado. I'm going to attempt to align it as best I can with the rear here. And I don't know how well you can see this, but this is aligned perfectly here. It's not aligned back here. It's aligned with this inset part of the rabbet. And then on the front, this is not aligned at all because we're going to have a double thick front baffle here. So there will be an inner baffle that sits here, and then the outer baffle will go out here. And you'll notice now, too, that with the elongated hole and the circular hole, this dado lines up perfectly with the center. Now we've got these two, what we call vertical braces, and you'll notice they are almost as tall as they are wide, so just make sure you put them in the right way. As you're building this, if you notice these go in a little bit tight, that can be okay, but it can also be trouble as you're trying to assemble everything else down the road. So if it's going in too hard, you can pull these out and sand along the edges. This is relatively tight, but I think I'm going to go for it here. And this will go in like this eventually. So this is just a quick dry fit. Before I started the video, I dry fit the entire cabinet to make sure it would go together okay. I'm just showing you this here to see what you should be doing when you dry fit. I would then put on the top, put on the sides, make sure everything goes together. But we're just going to get into this right now. I'm going to show you how I glue it up, show you the places to stop and start if necessary, and we will proceed as is. Even though this is a little bit tight, I think it's going to be okay. So a few things that are handy to have on hand. Paper towel, we're going to have the glue. A hammer, a wooden or rubber mallet would be better, but a hammer with a striking block works just as well. I've got some clamps here. This cabinet and all of our cabinets go together very well. They are so precision cut that they almost just sit together by themselves. But having some clamps on hand will help out a lot if things start to show some gaps. You can pull them together pretty quickly. It helps to hold them in place while you're moving things around. So I'm going to use clamps here. This is the best way to do it, but you can do it without clamps. You can do it with just weight. You can do it with masking tape. There's a few different ways you can get it done if you don't have a good collection of clamps at home. So I'm going to get right into this here. And in these dados, I'm not going to put a ton of glue. They're already so tight fitting. A little bit of glue is going to create a good bond, and I just don't want to mess all over the place as I'm doing this. So I'm going to wipe it up with my finger a little bit just so I get a more even distribution and I don't get a ton of squeeze out on one side and nothing on the other side. This glue, this is the Tight Bond Original. It works as well as any of the Tight Bonds. If you move up in the category, you can get the Tight Bond 2, which I believe is a little bit water resistant. Tight Bond 3 is, I believe they say waterproof. None of that's necessary here, but the Tight Bond 3 does have a little bit longer working time. If you're worried about that, then that can be something to consider. It's lined up in the back here. Double check my height again. Yep. Oop, see what I did? I put a little bit more glue there because I put it the wrong way. Didn't double check. All right, now these are in place and they are down and aligned where they need to be. You do have to move a little fast when you're doing this. It helps to have the panels be able to be moved as you're assembling anything. You don't want to get to the very end and have everything glued up firmly and then you can't fit in the last panel. You've got a little bit of leeway, a little bit of wiggle room, but the faster you can move without mistakes, the better it's going to be. So now I've got my other side piece. I'm going to start by aligning it in the rear. Move around here and get these into place. So we've got everything there. I'm going to tip this up. And this is where I'm going to use a couple clamps. And I just want to hold these together here so it doesn't fall apart while I'm adding the rear panel. The rear panel has the 2 holes here, 2 holes here. Big hole for the passive radiator. One thing to keep track of while you're doing this, the passive radiator goes at the bottom of the rear and the actual active woofer goes at the top of the front. Other than that, the cabinet is symmetrical vertically, so you can put the bottom on either way. You just have to make sure when you put the back on either way, just make sure when you put the front on that it is in the opposite spot, the opening. When you do your dry run, you want to make sure you pay attention to where the mating surfaces are going to be, where the glue is going to touch with the other panel. It's not always the same on every panel. In this case, it's on this very edge, but on some of these edges, this edge could be exposed on the outside and the glue could be inset. So on this panel, I know that putting it on the top here, on the top of the rabbet inside, on the top of this brace, that's where my rear panel is going to be. So again, doesn't matter which way this goes right now. Just make sure it's lined up side to side as best you can. good. Flip it over. Now I'm going to do the top and bottom. So I'm going to put this clamp on here just again to hold everything together while we're moving around. See, this top has kind of a double step here. So the first baffle is going to go in here, the inner baffle, and then the outer baffle will sit here. This dado fits the brace. This top panel fits fully inside. So it won't sit outside like this. It will go fully inside the two panels, which you'll see shortly when I glue it up. I don't want to jam it in there though for right now until I get the glue on. And this is a little bit of a hassle gluing these vertically, but I'm just going to try to get it on there in the corners, and then we'll spread it around a little bit with the finger. And since it's fully inset, we need some here as well. This panel then completely inset here. See, it's completely in on the bottom. I'm going to start tapping it up as I go. And at some point, it's going to get to that dado in the middle. That's going to need to be aligned. See, it's in there pretty good now. So that's one side. Do the same thing on the other side. Same thing, the double dado rabbit here at the top. Fully inset. This is where the rubber mallet would come in handy too, instead of beating your fist up. But it does the job. All right, so now just gonna show you where the bottom of the cabinet is. So we've got our passive radiator that's gonna be down here, which means our woofer opening needs to be on this side. You can see what's going on inside right now. This is what we got going on. Double step here for our inset woofer baffle. So this is going to go in here like this. It's going to rest on the one step on this side. It's going to rest on the brace, rest on the other step on the other side. So again, we're going to toss some glue onto those areas. This is mostly vertical surfaces that's going to get glue, so again, a little bit of a pain, but one last quick check. Passive radiator on this side, woofer opening on this side. Okay. Inner baffle is completely inset. Time to do the outer baffle. Obviously the outer baffle opening is just going to cover up that same woofer hole. There's a step there so that the SDX10 can be completely recessed. And we are going to just put some glue around the outside edge here. Now, the inner baffle has a smaller hole. It's the through hole for the SDX10. The outer baffle has the recess for the flange. So there's going to be a lip of this inner baffle that shows. That's where the SDX10 is going to mount. So be careful not to get glued too close to that outer edge, or you're just going to have a ton of glue squeeze out that you're going to have to clean up later. So I'm going to kind of go around this opening. I'm going to maybe give it an inch or so. Then I'm going to get in the corners. And then down here, I'm just going to put a lot of glue. We're actually gluing both those panels together down here. Make sure I get in the corners everywhere. A little more here. Outer baffle is on. So now if we kind of give you a quick spin tour here, you can see that these seams without any clamps right now are relatively tight. I've got a gap over here, but it's not horrible. And the gap is coming from the inside of the board pressing against the other part. So there's actually a good glue seam there. It's just not coming together on this outside part. We're going to fill that in later with wood putty when we go to finish this. You could be done right now. I'm going to go through and clamp this up and try to pull tight some of these areas, just so I have a little bit less fill to do. But again, if you don't have clamps, that's not something that's necessary to do. And you can see as we do this, we are getting some better glue squeeze out. So the clamps are doing their job. But again, you'd have a rock solid cabinet without it, and you could fill in all those gaps with wood filler afterwards. Down here. That looks good. Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not super happy with it, but I'm not going to keep doing that 100 times.
Yeah, I was going to say too, like, we need some kind of thing, especially if